What is going on, guys? It is Rexsi here. Today we're back with another 1 versus 1 ranked duel. Today our videos are going to be in a little bit of a different style today. A lot of people like this sort of commentary that I did a little while back. So, let's just get it started. I don't really have a subject for this video, but I thought I would just talk about it, and give you like a life story, give my experiences on a certain thing. So for those of you who do not know, I had a hobby, and I still kind of do. But I have a hobby where I do this thing called lucid dreaming. For those of you who do not know what lucid dreaming is the it's the art of basically controlling your dream. A lot of people don't actually believe this, which I think is really funny. People I used to work with in my job back in like grade 11 or so used to be like, oh my god, like, it was like, oh my god, that's not true, like, oh, pfft, yeah, right. And they would never believe me no matter how hard I tried to convince them that it exists. It's actually a thing. You can, with practice and a lot of patience, and depending on your genetics, you can control your dreams to like, so basically it's like a dream, right? Like dreams, anything can happen. But if you control it, then you have control over anything that can happen. So it's basically like you're God, right? And it's pretty cool. It's really fun. It intrigued me when I was a lot younger. Alright, thank god I got crit there. Cool. I'm gonna get poked at a little bit, it's fine. We have Blink, and he doesn't have too much sustain here. He has beats too. Cool. We'll just back up here. But yeah, I was really interested in it in like grade 10, I think. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna learn how to do it. It took me, from my experience, 7 months before I did it my first time. From now on, ever since then, I've learned how to do it. I've learned how to do it non-stop. So to the point where I can force myself into it if I really want to. But normally I don't really like doing that because it just happens naturally to me. It happens like multiple times a week without me really wanting it to or like forcing it. And pretty much, yeah, I just do it casually now. I don't really have to think about it. It just happens naturally because I understand how to do it. Or I mean, it's just because I know what it's about. So the first step, if you're looking to do it, I highly suggest doing a little bit of research if you're looking into it. It's really fun. You can do anything in your wildest dreams. Yeah, anything you can think about, anything that you're thinking about right now, anything can be done. For example, things I've done, I've just off the top of my head from a dream yesterday. I went Super Saiyan, which is something, you know me, I like Dragon Ball and stuff. I've been Superman. Flying is actually really difficult in lucid dreams, though. You have to be in like a layer 4. There's different layers depending on how deep you are in a lucid dream and how conscious you are. You can go into higher layers by taking in your surroundings a little more and really paying attention. And you know, you gotta like feel the grass, like continue to remind yourself you're in a dream, look around, mess around the environment, and just let the environment flow, and then, you know, get a feel for it, feel the wind. And the more conscious you are that you're in a dream, the more control you have over it. Like, my first ever dream, actually, my first ever lucid dream, I was actually put straight into a layer 3, which was pretty awesome. Layer 4, I think, it's the one with the most control, but layer 3, I think, is the funnest, because there's still some things that, like, spontaneous things that happen, because it's, you know, it's still a dream. Dreams are very weird. So my first one was a layer 3, and I remember I was sitting. So I entered it through sleep paralysis. A lot of you definitely know about that, but you can actually force yourself into a lucid dream with this method. I don't really recommend it. I recommend doing it naturally because it's actually really difficult to pull off. It's called the wild method, and then the method I use casually is called the mild method. Now, the first one I ever went into, I was standing there. Or, I mean, I was in my, I was trying to do sleep paralysis. I put myself in military position, and I've never had it work before. It was 7 months of attempting nonstop, like every single night, every single day, nonstop thinking about lucid dreaming, doing reality checks to make sure I'm still, you know, in waking life. Reality checks are I'll explain the strategy on how to lucid dream here very soon, but I was doing the wild method, where you basically relax your body and you trick your mind. Or you trick your body into thinking it's asleep while your mind stays awake, because every single night you go to bed, your body paralyzes itself, right? your body paralyzes itself every single night, so you know you don't reenact your dreams, right? Because that would be absurd. Like, you're running and then your ass starts running in your dreams, right? You know those dogs that are like a little bit not in sleep paralysis and they start running in their sleep and stuff. You'd be doing that. You'd be punching walls and hitting your friggin' fiance or some shit. But yeah, your body does that every single night, and there's a way you can actually force yourself into that state while you're still conscious. And in doing so, it induces a lot of hallucinations and stuff like that, because your mind starts to get scared, especially when you're not used to it, and you start to hallucinate things. I personally had some very scary experiences. I will explain that in a separate video because I want to go on the topic of normal lucid dreams. Okay, well. But so anyways, I did that method, and from that experience, Iron Man, I think I've already explained this before. I had Iron Man beside me, and he was reading me a comic book story, and I was like, okay, what's up? I was very confused, because it sort of feels like a dream, but you're conscious. That's like the whole, like, the stepping stone between the two, like the bridges between reality and the dream. And I was like, this is a little weird. I couldn't move. I was like rolling with it. I was a little worried, but I already taught myself to that at that point to just, you know, like, let it go, let it happen. And then Iron Man is like, everything's gonna be okay. He whispered in my ear, and he starts choking me, and I was like, okay, all right, this is where I'm gonna call it. I was like, I'm gonna call it now. And then once you're in that state, you can actually at any point close your eyes, or something like that. I forget how to do it now, but you close your eyes. And when I closed my eyes, I opened them, and I was on a beach. And I was like, whoa. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why am I on a beach? And then I looked to my right, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this feels so real. And then I lifted my right hand up towards the ocean, and a big tidal wave came, like up into the beach and smashed into the beach. I tried flying, I couldn't, because in layer 3s it's very difficult. It's like just basically jumping and trying to force yourself up into the air. It's really difficult to pull off. It takes a lot of practice before you can actually learn to fly like consistently. So I wasn't very experienced with that. I tried the easy method of teleporting, which was I spun around in a circle. I spawned in my friends. Like, I just imagined they'd be around the corner, and they were there. I just had fun. I looked in the mirror. I did a lot of things that I wanted to try out while lucid dreaming, that I've always wanted to do. You know, like the simple ones. Looking at my watch, because when you're in a dream, there are a few things that happen, which are also known as reality checks. We'll go on to that now, might as well. If you are in a dream, basically, how you can teach yourself lucid dream, number one, is you need a notebook to write down every single dream you have. I don't anymore, because I don't really care, and I still lucid dream. I don't really care if I forget my dreams and stuff, but if you want to learn how to lucid dream, you need to write down every single dream you have, that you can remember. And I don't mean, like, you can't just, like, think, oh, I'm going to remember this dream, because you won't. You won't remember the dream. You might think you will. You're like, oh, I'll write this when I'm not tired and I wake up. Oh, shit. Because you will not remember. Trust me. Like, trust me, okay? So you got to write down every single dream, every experience you have, certain things, like little important things. You can find out when you Google it. It's like the vividness of it and stuff like that, descriptions, main things, main points. Try and get as much detail as you can, because that drills into your head whether or not a thing is a dream. And through the mild method, the main method I used for dreaming is, there's different ways to do this, but the method I used, if you are in a dream and you look at your fingers, if you count your fingers in a dream, you will have either more or less, or your fingers will be disfigured. You'll count, like, sometimes I'll have 4 fingers, sometimes I'll have 6. You'll be like, oh. And then if you do that in real life, your body, you'll start, if you can consistently do it every single time something seems off, like, say, like, you see, like a gopher cross the street that looks a little weird, or something, or I don't know, that's a random example, or someone's not supposed to be in a certain place, something just feels off, right? Or you have deja vu. For example, deja vu is one that I used to always, like, if you had that feeling, then that's when you do a reality check, right? Another form of reality check is in a dream, if you have a watch, if you look at the time once, and look away, and then look back at the time changes completely. It's a completely different time. That's another reality check. Let's think. There's other ones, light switches. Light switches don't work in dreams. That's another one. If you look in a mirror, it's not you. It's a lot of people say different things about looking in mirrors, but it depends on the layer, I find. Because some people are like, it's what you really see in yourself, and then other people are like, It's just different depending on the layer, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the method I use, and constantly ask yourself if you're in a dream. Oops. That's another very important thing, because you got to keep your mindset in that sort of, you know, that, like, you got to always be thinking about that if you're really committing to it. It took me 7 months, like I said. You need a lot of patience for it as well. Like, it's a very difficult thing to do, but it's definitely worth it. One thing I would like to warn about, though. One thing I would like to warn about is something that happened to me personally. Since I was a lot younger, I got a little depressed. I got a little sad when I would, like, wake up and go to school, because, you know, when you first learn to do it and you're really young and you don't really have a real grip on life, and you're still, you know, like a young high schooler, and, you know, you're just, all you know in life is just, you know, you go to school, you have to do what your parents say, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta follow a set of rules. When you can go to bed at night and control your own reality and become God, basically, and anything you want that you can imagine can happen, you start to get a little. I started to have really bad existential crises. I think that's what it's called. I used to have them really bad, like really, really bad. Like, I used to. Oh my god, dude, trust me. So it's something. I don't know. I feel as if I should definitely warn people about that. Well, you know what? Came up a little short there on her. But yeah, trying to think of other things I should definitely warn about. The wild method actually kind of got my body. It helped, but at the same time, it didn't help, because my body kind of low-key gave me insomnia in certain cases. Basically, you can easily get into sleep paralysis depending on, like, the trick with sleep paralysis. The trick with to getting into sleep paralysis, a lot of people do, and if you look up the wild method, you'll figure out that a lot of people recommend you go to bed, and then, what is it, like 4-5 hours into sleep, you basically set an alarm and you wake yourself up. Keep yourself awake, and then go back to bed, and then try and enter sleep paralysis, just because your body's, like, really tired. You're already, you know, pretty much used to sleeping. Actually, what do we want here? Oh, yeah, pressure. So that's, like, the simplest way, right? So when your body's pretty much an REM, and when you're really, really, really tired, you're, like, REM is a rapid eye movement. It's what your eyes do. They start to move really fast, because, you know, you're dreaming and you're looking around, and so your eyes start to move, like, really fast all around when you're dreaming. It's called REM, as you can probably guess. So that's that's the state you start dreaming in after a certain amount of time at night. So that's like the time. That's like the most optimal time to try and enter that, because you're already in that state, right? You're already in that state. I was really afraid he was going to surrender there. So, I mean, that's like the most optimal time. That's like the easiest time to get into sleep paralysis. If you try and do it right when you go to bed, it's not really easy. It's a really difficult thing to do. I'm a little Titans man, actually. I'm just not going to end the game now, because I want to talk for a little bit more. So, but what that did to me is basically, I had a problem where if I was to go to bed when I was too tired, my body would automatically go into sleep paralysis. And it's not too difficult to get out of if you know how. There's tricks. Like, if you're in sleep paralysis, I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, like, it's the most terrifying experience in the world. It's like, it's pretty crazy. I guess I'll tell some stories about my experiences with it. There are tricks you can do to get out of it, but sometimes it happens so frequently that I am not used to it. Because it can happen when you're in the middle of a dream, if it's at the beginning of REM. And I've had experiences where I remember that, I think the scariest experience I've ever had. I woke up, like, sweating, and, like, I yelled so loud that I woke up yelling. I was in the back of a van with my family, and there was a guy that was holding me by the throat, and he ended up taking a knife and slitting my throat. And I felt it, and everyone around me in the car and in the van was just screaming at the top of their lungs. So that was that was a little bit of probably the scariest experience I've had with it. The really scary ones are when you're in a dream and you're not aware that you're in sleep paralysis because you can't move your body and it feels like it's real. Like when I'm in sleep paralysis and I'm on my bed, I'm like, oh, it's just obvious. But when there's cases where I'm just paralyzed, because I've actually fainted before, I've had a seizure due to medical issues. I sometimes think that's happening, so I start to panic, and I don't actually recognize it when I'm in. Maybe it's just very specific to me, but it is something I should definitely warn you about. But yeah, every time I go to take a nap now, so like I'll be really tired. If I go to sleep too tired, I will enter that state, and it happens probably like 5 to 10 times before I'm able to completely fall asleep. But you can get yourself out of it. And the way to do that is you basically move your pinky. If you try your absolute pinnacle of hardest to move your body. Oh shit, I was too busy talking. I was moving my pinkies in real life. You try your absolute hardest to move your pinky or your pinky toe, and you will eventually, your body will snap out of it. Also, and if you're in a dream, if you just scream, wake up, your body will become conscious. That's another tip. Anyways, that's all I have time for to talk about today. If you guys did enjoy watching this sort of thing, or this style of commentary, please let me know in the comments. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing, leave me a like, that also helps. Anyways, yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy watching. Let me know if you want like a separate video explaining this kind of thing, my thought process on it. Anyways, I'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.